Welcome back to my channel, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lauren, and every single day in every single video we are talking about and focusing on how we can harvest our health. Our health is the most important thing we have, and it's linked to every part of wealth that we have. The wealth that's in our mind, the wealth that's in our pockets, the wealth that's in our physical world. Everything is linked back to what we put into our bodies. So the more greatness we put into our bodies, the more greatness we will have in our life. Action! Bumblebee Tuna, Jim Carrey, The Mask. Today we're going to be talking about sugar and depression and how the two are linked to each other. Question number one is, why does refined sugar lead to depression? We already know that poor diet equals inflammation. Furthermore, refined sugar also equals inflammation. Inflammation affects things like our cells, our joints, our blood, pretty much every single facet of our body. Most importantly, our blood has a direct line to the brain. When our blood has those chemicals that are imbalancing the chemicals in our brain, and it gets to our brain, then what happens? It becomes chemically imbalanced as well. Our brain becomes inflamed because the chemical compounds of sugar and the chemical compounds in our body are not meant to mesh. That's when we develop things like depression. In addition, our serotonin levels go way down. That's one of the happiness drugs that our body naturally makes, as well as our dopamine levels become suppressed. Here's a fun fact. The B vitamins in our body is what propels our good mood. Chemicals in refined sugar eat B vitamins. If we are putting sugars into our body that eat the happy vitamins that help us create the serotonin and dopamine, how are we supposed to stay happy? The sugars that we put into our body turns into insulin-resistant fat cells. And these insulin-resistant fat cells send inflammatory messages to our brain. These inflammatory messages are called cytokines. And what the cytokines do is they make our brain fat and swollen, which is the inflammation, which causes the reduction in serotonin levels and in the dopamine levels. Starting out, we know how sugar is linked to depression and why. It doesn't only cause inflammation in the brain though. Sugar causes inflammation in every single part of our body. Our gums get inflamed from the bacteria that it holds. Our joints get inflamed. Inflammation equals aging. We can even develop a fatty liver from the fructose that is in refined sugars. Our pancreas does not make sufficient insulin. That in turn causes things like diabetes, diverticulitis, obesity, and even heart disease. Let's talk about how refined sugar is made. Fructose isn't necessarily a bad thing when it's used properly. Some foods that fructose is found in is fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, and dairy. The way that we get table sugar out of these foods is we extract the sugar from mostly sugar beets and corn and sugar cane. We extract it from these things, and then from there we make it into a juice, and from a juice we refine it into a syrup, and then from a syrup we refine it into the crystals. So this is the white sugar that we find in the grocery stores, on our table, the stuff we put in our tea and coffee. The most common form of fructose is high fructose corn syrup 55. Where the 55 comes from is high fructose corn syrup is 55% fructose and 42% glucose. The rest is added enzymes for flavor. The crazy thing is how sneaky sugar is. It pops up in places that we don't necessarily expect. It causes a resistance to the hunger hormone that we have in our body, which is called leptin. Leptin signals our body when to eat. When we have an excess amount of refined sugar in our body doesn't exactly know when to eat and when not to eat. So now we've developed appetite issues. With the appetite issues that we develop from eating an overabundance of refined sugar, this is where we have blood sugar swings. And the blood sugar swings cause our neurotransmitters to deregulate themselves, which cause inflammation. Our happiness is extremely important, so stay tuned for a future video that I'm going to make about how to naturally create more dopamine, because we no longer eat the sugary food that we used to eat that used to create the dopamine for us. Realizing that sugar triggers chemical imbalances in our brain and body can really begin to open our eye enough to begin doing what I love to talk about most on my channel, and that's taking control. Taking control of what we know and what we gonna do about it. For more information about how the body works with different foods and how our chemical compounds interact with the chemical compounds of food, please like and subscribe to my channel. The information is only going to get better and more defined from here. Really quickly, 2 types of sucrose: fructose and glucose. Fructose is a simple sugar found in fruits and different foods. Whole food fructose is able to be handled by the body. It's processed and metabolized only by the liver. Added fructose and refined fructose that's extracted and recreated, the body cannot process that because it's so concentrated, the liver isn't able to metabolize all of the excess fructose. Glucose is also a simple sugar. These are found in plant-based carbohydrates. They are essential to life, they circulate in our blood, and they are absorbed and processed by the brain, and the brain uses them for energy. Whereas fructose is solely processed by the liver, glucose is metabolized by every single cell in our body. The brain is not able to store energy. It also needs a steady flow of whole food glucose. With the extra fructose and glucose that we find in certain foods, our body's organs and cells get weighed down. They get inflamed and they become devoid of our mood boosting hormones, serotonin and dopamine. What we can do about this? How do we get more whole food fructose and eliminate some of the refined fructose and sugars? We have been programmed to eat sugar as food for so long. We don't really want to give it up. It's kind of like a drug that we're addicted to, where we don't really feel that we're able to give it up. Whenever we're making a switch from unnatural to natural whole foods, that we do it similar in a way that's going to benefit us. There's 3 different things that I can think of that we can make ourselves that will give us that sugar satisfaction that we want to taste, as well as be healthy and be the right amount and the whole amount of what we need for our body to properly metabolize it and actually reduce it. Just thinking about some fruits that are really high in fructose. One of them is plums. We can do something like plum popsicles, where it can be plums, honey, turmeric, and cinnamon. Or we can even do watermelon, honey, turmeric, and cinnamon. We can also do strawberry, honey, turmeric, and cinnamon. One of the main components of this is turmeric for 2 reasons. 1, turmeric doesn't really have too much of a taste. You can add enough and not be able to taste it, and you can add enough to where it's going to reduce inflammation. So that's the second reason why we want to add turmeric. Cinnamon helps the blood flow better. So not only are we putting anti-inflammatory chemicals into the blood, we're also putting blood flow easier chemicals into the blood. This is going to cause the turmeric to touch as many cells as possible to help keep our inflammation down. And since the anti-inflammatory compounds of turmeric are in the blood that is now flowing better, that's going to go right to our brain, and it's going to help our brain become less fat and less swollen and have less inflammation, which is going to boost our mood. Some people like to eat things that are creamy. We can make ice cream without sugar by using bananas. We can use straight bananas. Banana vanilla ice cream. We can also make a chocolate banana ice cream, and we can use something like almond milk, or oats are super creamy. We can use oat milk to mix in to make it like a creamy ice cream or even a creamy popsicle. In addition, we can make something like a chocolate banana strawberry smoothie, where we can add oat milk or almond milk to have that creamy texture to it, so it's more like a chocolate milkshake. If you're not really into chocolate, we can always use things like vanilla, like real vanilla food, not vanilla extract. We're looking for real whole food, so we can get a vanilla bean from any health food store around us, pretty much any health food store. We can add that into our smoothie to have that vanilla flavor. Melons are one of the fruits that have a very concentrated amount of fructose. We can do something like a melon bowl, where it could be watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, throw some grapes in there, and even some blueberries. Those people who enjoy a little bit of apple cider vinegar, we can make a sweet and sour drizzle for on top of our fruit. It actually goes excellent with any fruit. I've been doing it for years. More honey than a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Mix it all together. The ACV breaks down the honey. Put a little bit of cinnamon on that bad boy and just drizzle it on top. It gives it an extra little zing, helps with inflammation, it helps with blood flow, and it helps it absorb better into the body. I'm really excited about this health journey that we're all going to take together. Any questions that you have about any kind of foods that you can eat for a certain ailment, I'm excellent with that kind of stuff. Comment down below. I will either respond directly to your comment, or depending on how in-depth the question is, make a whole video about it. Future videos are going to be how we can do it. Let's pump each other up and motivate each other to get this done right. Different things that we can do food-wise and otherwise that can benefit our body. Help us get over this learning curve. Remember to like and subscribe for more information, because we're only going up from here.